Good morning. Welcome everybody to Exploring the Power of the New Mo Blocks. I'm Shauna Stefanchik, president of Steppin' Up, and I'm happy to have you here. And I've got beautiful ladies from my team. Everybody out in schools I know is super busy, and so those signed up weren't able to hop on, but we're hopeful that many of you will take the time to watch this YouTube video and recording to remind your teachers of the Mo Blocks. It's really simple today. We just have one goal, and it's to ensure that districts and teachers know about them. Now, they also have synonymous names. You might hear them called Mo Leaps. You might hear them called Mo Blocks. Actually, I think as I show you how to find them on DESE's website, they are considered Mo Leaps, but they're known by both. Why are we talking about, look, and then I use Mo Leaps here. So why are we talking about them today? And I wanted to anchor a little bit in some research. Actually, it was pre-pandemic. So we're talking 2019 is when 2018 and 19 is when the creation of a lot of these MOLEAP blocks were created. At that time, the State Department was bringing in a lot of research from Nell Duke, and then our team has added Natalie Wexler's work to that as well. But the conversation was that when we don't teach social studies and science, that it's actually really impacting literacy. Okay, and Nell Duke is out of Michigan University, and then Natalie Wexler's work, The Knowledge Gap, is also talking about in her work. She's also done the Writing Revolution that kids are missing relevant vocabulary and background knowledge, and it's because we're not teaching a lot of nonfiction. And so the state recognized that, and before the pandemic kind of flew it on a loop, what they were trying to do is they started creating these MOLEAPs or blocks because what we realize, or what most educators realize is that, especially in K through 5, there isn't a lot of social studies and science teaching that's going on, and let alone resources for them to have. And Missouri is made up of a lot of rural districts who also don't have resources. So this was their answer to how could we get together and create these blocks of instruction. So that's why we call them the blocks. These blocks of instruction that show teachers, here's all your standards. And they gathered a lot of really robust articles and artifacts because especially in social studies and science, there was a big shift at that time in the content of those. That's when we went to the NGSS, the three-dimensional science standards. They were a lot more robust. So the teaching of those needed to change. Let's provide a block to show teachers that. Social studies standards changed where we prioritized the tools of inquiry were there. Then we prioritized them during the pandemic. But the tools of inquiry are very much about what are the thinking strategies that good readers need as historians. How do we look at text as historians? Social studies teachers don't want to hear it, but they are reading teachers. We're teaching kids how to read like a historian. And so the state wanted to provide clarity around that. So they developed these blocks of teachers. The blocks were developed by work groups of teachers at the time. So there were things in there in 2019-20, and now it's a lot more robust. And they've actually moved it from being on the website and into a Dropbox. So previous to that, when it was on a website, our product and our company even used, because it was legal to do so, used things from those original Mo blocks and put it right into our proficiency scales because we're trying to give you clarity of what rigor looks like. The state now has moved them to a Dropbox, so companies can't do that anymore. Now, I will tell you, you can hyperlink to it. And so I just wanted to make sure people know the great work the state has done and that we still want to keep using it and give you access. So I'm going to show you this screenshot and then I'm going to hop on and actually model it, but wanted to put it there. When you go to the DESE website, you're going to go to educators, curriculum, and it's going to bring down this bar, and it's actually called MoLeap is how you will get there. So I'm going to pop out of this and go to the actual website for you. So again, educators, curriculum, and when you do that, this bar is going to pop up and we're going to go down to MoLeap. And then it's actually going to ask you, you can see here's MoLeap right here. They're found at this link, and it says you should not be asked to create an account, but it does take you to another link. And now we're inside the Dropbox. So they have it separated by content. Some contents have more than others. Remember, social studies and science was their focus. You're going to find a lot more in social studies and science. And these are growing all the time. What's kind of neat about Dropbox is you can see when they last added things. Susan German and Sean, both work at the department. Now, here's what else is exciting that I just found as a cheat sheet. Really easy, grades 3 through 5. Look, 74 files. That has grown a lot. There are a ton of Mo blocks in there for 3 5. K1, we got a couple. A lot of science end of course and over 75 sixth grade. So this is a lot more robust. Let me go ahead and open up and just kind of walk through. They've got it now differentiated by grade, by topic. I'm just going to open one up here. So here's a science one. You'll notice this is a whole block of instruction. So it's informing the teacher. Here's what you're going to be looking at. Here's how you can use this task. Here's the purpose. Here's the standards it covers. Here's hyperlinks within the document to get to the tasks. Here's the directions. I mean, it's step by step. Here's how ELA is integrated into it. Here are the books you want to use. Here's suggest. See, this is just crazy. So if you're in a district, remember, we don't usually start teaching science in elementary till it's tested in 5th grade. Let's stray away from that. Let's start earlier in K1, but especially 3 5. You could be printing these off, and this could be your science curriculum. And for our clients, we have you look at these standards and link it right into your curriculum management tool. That's what we'd recommend for everybody. Ladies, since I have you on the call, thoughts or comments as I kind of navigate another subject for people to look at?
I would just say it's so organized. It's so easy to use and definitely worth an educator's time to get in there and click around and see what they can use to maybe fill gaps that they have with the resource they're using right now. Um, my experience is that it's very rigorous.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sue. And I'm going to go ahead and go into now. So these are very revamped. Now they're in color. They used to all be black and white, and there are a lot more added. I'm going to look at social studies here. Um, Again, they've got, no, that's interesting because the priority standards here. So they've even listed that for you, what they are, the codes, relevant connections. But what I think is key to me, especially with the tools of inquiry, a lot of times for social, you need these really good sources. And when I was trying to write assessments, finding great sources is very difficult. So if anything, look, they've got all these great sources at the bottom and then text around them. It just saves you a ton of time. And then they've already done the legwork of additional websites and videos that teachers could use in order to teach that concept. And again, remember in social studies, they said we don't want to just have kids memorize content like we used to. We want them to be able to discern a text and find the information. And so as you look at these questions, it gives you great models as Sue's talking about rigor. Well, maybe this one doesn't have it, has the sources, but most of the time they'll have some really great questions to show you how would you ask that in depth. And again, you could just print these sources. You can use them for assessment purposes, but the original intent was that it would give a teacher an entire block of instruction that they could teach. So you could do multiple lessons and then maybe use one from here as an actual assessment. Again, they are a lot more robust than they were in the past. There's just tons in here now. Looking at social studies, 135 end of course. Guys, there used to only be like 20 in each grade level. And I'm not going to go through all of them. ELA, there are a lot more. There were hardly any a couple years ago. So I'm going to come back to this slide just as a reminder of how you get to that. I kind of modeled there your the DESE website, Educators Curriculum, then click on MoLeap. If you are watching this call and you're a Step Up client, just an FYI, but we have updated it for all of our clients. I'm going to pop it up here a little bigger. On your curriculum management tool, we've tried to always hyperlink those key things for you from the state, and we added the new MoLeap blocks right there. I'm not sure now I can't easily find, I need to click on that and see if you can find where they were originally saved. It won't impact your product because we have those saved. But for the new mobile blocks, those won't be in our product. You'll need to go to the Dropbox into that external website. So, in conclusion, your next steps, call to action in watching this call is please, please ensure teachers know where to find them. So I tried to show you on the website, but our team would of course recommend use your landing page, your curriculum, and link it right there for teachers so they have access to it. If a new teacher walked in, they might click on that and then find the Holy Grail, right? Anyway, so make sure they know about it. Discuss the rigor and activities developed within it. So a common protocol that we do with teachers is let's look at how you typically or how your resource teaches that assignment. And let's look at the activities and the questioning in this Mo block. Do they look the same? Typically what you'll find is in those blocks they're a lot more rigorous, and that gets you closer to how the rigor of the standards that we're really wanting to get kids to. And at the end of the day, the next steps is please continue to fast track content level learning for kids, because as we started off the call with Nell Duke and Natalie Wexler's work, that building that content knowledge and that background and that schema is going to create more literate citizens, and it'll actually make the reading process easier for children because they'll have that background knowledge to draw from. Ladies, anything else you'd like to add for listeners who are interested in looking at the move blocks?
I
Okay.
love the assessment piece. We have a hard time sometimes trying to find those item types. You're going to see lots of those varied item types within those on printed versions, which I think is great because sometimes it's hard to get kids to practice that. We don't always want them on digital, but those they have turned a lot of those item types into hard copy versions, which is just great for us to have as an example and resource to make sure we're exposing those kids to those types of questions.
Yes, great point, Jessica. You teachers can print that right off. And I've seen a lot of teachers print them off and even do them a whole group because they are so much more rigorous. A lot of modeling with kids and then maybe saving one at the end to actually give them as an exit ticket or formative. Could save you a lot of work if you're like, I don't have time to create a lot of assessments. Here you go. Go find the standard. It's all right there. Well,
The
thank
one
you.
thing that I was thinking, oh, sorry. The one thing that I was thinking is that we know with those K-5 kids, a lot of teachers feel pressure that they don't have the time to do social studies and science. So something I really liked within the Mobley blocks is that they show you those connected content standards to ELA or to math, like where it makes the most sense. So going back and looking at your CMT when those standards are appearing and making sure that your resource is doing that cross divide between contents. And if it's not, then you can use the MOLEAP block to fulfill that same standard. But then your kids are getting the social studies and science they need to become more knowledgeable, which is going to help them later.
Great point. So how you can integrate that into your current instruction. And as a former, K2 teacher, what do kids love learning about the most and reading the most? Nonfiction, social studies and science, gross stuff in science, historical facts, the stories. So, a lot of textbook companies, I think that's why CKALA is so popular because they did such a good job of incorporating that nonfiction that we know readers need. So, we always want to integrate. So, if you're always thinking, how do I squeeze it in? Rebecca told you, you use social studies science text while using ELA skills so we can hit two birds with one stone. And they might actually like reading, everybody. They might actually enjoy it. So thank you from our Step Up team. We hope you found value in this video, and we thank you for all of the hard work you do as teachers. We appreciate you. Bye, everybody.